In the summer of 1863, Confederate General Robert E. Lee launched a bold campaign into Pennsylvania, seeking to shift the war's momentum by invading Northern Territory. He believed a major victory on Union soil could demoralize the North and possibly gain European recognition for the Confederacy. Union Major General George G. Meade, newly appointed commander of the Army of the Potomac, moved his forces north to intercept Lee. Both armies maneuvered through the rugged terrain of south-central Pennsylvania, converging on the crossroads town of Gettysburg. Civilians in Gettysburg watched in growing alarm as troops from both sides advanced. The town quickly became a strategic focal point. At dawn on July 1st, Union cavalry under Brigadier General John Buford arrived west of Gettysburg and recognized the high ground south of the town as the key to the coming fight. Knowing Confederate forces were approaching, Buford deployed his cavalry dismounted along McPherson's Ridge to delay the enemy until Union infantry could arrive. The first major Confederate troops to reach the field belonged to Major General Henry Heth's division, which advanced toward Gettysburg expecting only militia resistance. Buford's men fired the opening shots of the battle, slowing Heth's advance with accurate carbine fire and defensive positioning. As the firefight intensified, the long-awaited Union Front Corps under Major General John Reynolds hurried toward the sound of combat to reinforce Buford's thin line. After the chaotic retreat through Gettysburg, the Union Army reformed on Cemetery Hill, a defensible high ground just south of town. General Oliver O. Howard had earlier identified the hill as a fallback position, allowing retreating Union forces to regroup quickly. As evening approached, additional Union Corps under Winfield S. Hancock arrived and stabilized the line, boosting morale among exhausted soldiers. Confederate commanders debated whether to continue the attack before Union reinforcements fully assembled, but delays and confusion prevented a coordinated assault. With darkness settling over the field, both armies prepared for what would become one of the largest battles in American history. After falling back through the town of Gettysburg, the Union Team Corps regrouped on the high ground south of town, forming a defensive line along Cemetery Hill, Cemetery Ridge, and Culp's Hill. They strengthened their positions rapidly, digging shallow entrenchments, placing artillery, and preparing for a renewed Confederate advance. Officers moved along the ridgelines, directing battered regiments into position, ensuring each sector was aligned for mutual support. As evening approached, reinforcements from the Union II Corps began arriving, adding stability and depth to the defensive line. By nightfall, the Union Army of the Potomac held a strong, elevated position, anchored on terrain that would become central to the battle's outcome. By early afternoon on July 2nd, Confederate General James Longstreet's corps began moving into position to strike the Union left flank. The Union III Corps under Major General Daniel Sickles advanced forward from its assigned position, creating a vulnerable salient. This unexpected movement left the Union line overstretched and exposed as Confederate units approached through woods and rocky terrain. Union commanders hurried to adjust their defenses, sending reinforcements toward the Peach Orchard and Wheat Field. Tension rose across the battlefield as both sides prepared for the heavy fighting that was moments away. On July 2nd, Confederate General James Longstreet launched a major assault against the Union left flank at Gettysburg, striking areas such as Devil's Den, the Wheat Field, and the Peach Orchard. The fighting became chaotic and close quarters as Union and Confederate regiments struggled over rocky ground, farm fields, and low stone walls. Despite repeated assaults, Union defenders, including those rushed in from nearby positions, held many of the key areas long enough to prevent the Confederate forces from breaking through to Cemetery Ridge. The cost of the fighting was severe for both sides, with some regiments suffering massive casualties in minutes. On Seminary Ridge, Confederate commanders assembled their divisions for a massive assault aimed at breaking the Union center on Cemetery Ridge. Soldiers tightened cartridge boxes, checked bayonets, and aligned in long, precise ranks stretching across the fields. Artillery batteries, thundered from the ridge behind them, attempting to weaken the Union position before the infantry advance. Despite the tension, officers moved steadily along the lines, relaying final instructions as the men prepared for one of the most dangerous charges of the war. The Confederate infantry stepped off from Seminary Ridge in long ordered lines, moving steadily across the open fields towards Cemetery Ridge. Drums and shouted commands worked to maintain alignment as the men marched through heat, smoke, and the distant crack of Union rifle fire. Union artillery on the ridge opened with concentrated volleys, sending shells bursting among the advancing formations. Despite mounting casualties, the Confederate ranks pressed forward, closing the distance with determination as they approached the center of the Union position. In the aftermath of the failed Confederate assaults, the fields between the ridges lay covered with casualties from both armies. Union soldiers reinforced their defensive lines while medical teams worked continuously to treat the wounded scattered across the battlefield. Confederate units began withdrawing towards Seminary Ridge, recognizing that further attacks were impossible. As night fell, both armies endured exhaustion and grief while commanders assessed the devastating losses of the day. The next morning revealed the full scale of destruction, with burial crews and aid teams working urgently to manage the aftermath. Realizing the weakened condition of his army, General Lee ordered a retreat toward Virginia, ending the battle after 3 days of fighting. Union forces, though equally exhausted, prepared to pursue the Confederates and secure the strategic advantage gained at Gettysburg. In the months that followed, the battle's impact became evident as it marked a major turning point in the Civil War and strengthened Union resolve to continue the struggle.